It is officially February the 1st. We are out of the month of January for 2019. But let me just say something right now. I think January will go down as what I like to call attack a black man month or come after a black man month because it seems like black men, especially heterosexual black men, have been under the attack or under a microscope like no other in this month, in that month alone. Now, like I said, it's currently February. Now here I am, and I have a picture up, and you see that's Jussie Smollett. So I was tagged in this post. Well, I don't know if I was tagged or whatever. Maybe I found it where somebody over at Vibe magazine. First off, I didn't even know Vibe magazine was still in existence. First of all, so when I saw that, that was a shocker in itself. But they decided that they were going to write this piece about him. But look at who they decided to attack in the process. Let me scroll down. This is going to be one of those articles where we read along with each other again. Straight black men's silence on Jussie Smollett's homophobic and racist attack is dangerous. Another hit piece. And y'all can't see the name, but it's written by someone named Richie Rosario, and it's dated January 31st, 2019 at 2:06 p.m. Let me read the title again. Straight black men's silence on Jussie Smollett's homophobic and racist attack is dangerous. Now, look at what they led with after his name. Homophobic and racist attack. They didn't even lead with the racist part. They led with the homophobic part. What did I tell you? Many of them always lead with their lifestyle before their race. This is leading into what type of person this Richie Rosario is. And someone managed to pull up an image of him, but I'm going to save that towards the end of the commentary because it's a reason why I'm saving it for the end. But this person could not wait to take a jab at us. And this is coming from Vibe. Vibe has not been on any newsstand for years. When I looked it up, it says Vibe is now only an online publication. Something tells me it's a white-owned online publication like that of The Root and was it The Griot and Madame Noir and all those other blue check Negro ran websites. Not ran because they ain't running nothing over there except their mouths and barely getting paid to do it. But let's go through this article. I already know it's going. Let's continue. In the early hours of Tuesday morning, January 29th, Jussie Smollett became the victim of a senseless racist and homophobic crime in Chicago. Two white men viciously attacked him with what Smollett believed to be bleach, fractured one of his ribs, and spewed out a bombastic diatribe of disgusting discriminatory slurs. Aren't you that faggot? Empire nigger, the Max men reportedly asked him. Now, you want to know what's so funny? This attack was by two white men. We're going to say allegedly right now. How in the hell do these individuals manage to fit or throw black men into the equation as if it was us that did the attack and that we had to come in and, you know what, let me stop right now because I'm jumping the gun. Let me keep on reading. The two unidentified men reportedly also wrapped a noose around the 35-year-old's neck and reportedly yelled out, "This is MAGA country." Let's call it what it is. What happened to Jussie is a blatant hate crime by two homophobic white supremacists, the same type of white supremacists who put the lives of unarmed straight, there's that word again, cisgendered black men and women in danger, and the same type of white supremacists who call the cops when a black man is in his backyard living his best life and minding his own damn business. The actor has received a slew of support from members of the LGBTQ community and in out of Hollywood, as well as black women alike. But aside from a few Hollywood peers and allies, those same straight black men who are targeted by white supremacists have been largely silent. Hold on. I've spoken about this. Tariq has spoken about this. Harvey has spoken about this. Willie D has spoken about this. I think the one on VZ talked about it. And a few other straight black men have talked about it as well. It's almost begging me to ask the question like Therese did. Like, what do you want from me? Like, what do you want from us? But let me continue. Their probable homophobic attitudes or silence towards their black gay brothers can be just as lethal as the same white men that kill them and incarcerate them at more disproportionate rates than any other minority in America. See, this is the type of shit that when people write, makes you want to go through the screen and cyber falcon punch them in their throat. This is why social media should not have been given to a lot of people. Like, this stuff makes no sense. I will not rage out because it is too late for me to do it. It says a gay black man doesn't have the privilege to pick and choose which marginalized identity he wears in society on any given day when he can be attacked for either of them. They must not be familiar again with those like James Baldwin. He was a black gay man, but he put his blackness before his sexuality. For years, many people didn't know what he was. I think Langston Hughes was another one, and a few others. I swear, people like the person who's writing this article are the biggest attention whores on the planet. White supremacy is one thing, but there it is, toxic masculinity and internalized homophobia that plagues black and brown communities is another. See, there it is right there. That toxic masculinity phrase, they try to cover that and say that it's everyone, but let's be real here. It's about heterosexual black men. And then it says internalized homophobia. So basically, if we didn't talk about this or acknowledge this the way that they want it to be covered, then we are toxic masculinity and we have internalized homophobia. Okay, let's continue. Now this part, now I've actually read the article already. This part right here, though, really got me. It says, to this day, as a 27-year-old Dominican gay man, I say a prayer when going inside a barbershop because I don't feel safe. Wow. He says a prayer before going into a barbershop because he doesn't feel safe. I have been in barbershops before where there were probably guys in there. You know what? One time I went in there and there was a guy who went and got his hair cut, and it was a gay guy, and he got his hair cut, and he didn't look like he was scared and anything like that. He didn't really engage in the conversations because, you know, with barbershop talk, you know, it may not be type of conversation they would engage in, opposed if they went to say like a beauty salon or a hair salon, and they would be more engaged, or maybe a nail shop. But they didn't look like they were scared or look like they wanted to run for the hills. But I see what this person is trying to say, like, or trying to do. They're basically trying to say going into a barbershop is like going into the lion's den and they're the prey. It says most black and brown men find the shop as a sacred place of camaraderie with their boys. For me, it's torture. Nah, he's you know what? He lives up the block. I heard a Dominican barber say to a black client. They both laughed in unison at a gay man who just left the shop in my neighborhood in the Bronx. I just sat there hoping I wasn't their next target. Next target. They made it seem like he was going to jump up and just start like they were going to jump up and start attacking him. In the barbershop, anybody can get roasted. I've never felt supported by straight men to safely be my full self in front of them, with the exception of a few who are part of my personal or professional life. And maybe that's a problem I need some soul searching on. What makes it worse is that when given the platform and opportunity to educate themselves on the LGBTQ people, prominent voices in the media take it as a chance to display their ignorance. Here's the thing. When they say to educate us on their lifestyle and everything like that, it gets loosely translated into, I'm going to make you accept me whether you want to or not, and if you don't, I'm gonna label you a gay basher and you're gonna be called homophobic. That's what it translates into. That's like a black person going up into a white person's face who's wearing a Klan robe saying, you're going to like me because I'm black. You're not going to call me nigger. You're not going to burn a cross in my yard. You're not going to use systematic oppression against me. You're going to give me my 40 acres and a mule, and so on and so forth. And you actually think that Klansman is going to stand there and let you get in their face and say that? and not think that they are not going to clap back. That's basically what they want us to do. They want us to not so much accept them, but they want us, it's almost like to the point where they want us to bow down to them, and we just not simply won't do that. If anything, it sounds like they're the white person of the black community. In the summer of 2017, author and trans activist Janet Mock visited Power 105.1 The Breakfast Club to promote her new book, or his new book, Surpassing Certainty, days after his appearance, because Janet Mock is not a woman. Comedian Lil Duval went on the show and was asked what he would do if, after 4 months of dating, a girlfriend disclosed she's transgender. From here on, things took a turn for the worse. Duval made transphobic comments towards Mock and the community. So basically, I think I remember that interview. That's basically when Lil Duval was basically saying what he would do as a straight black man. Like, and you can't be mad at him because, and it's another thing, to them people who are transgender, they go around and say, think that they can go and mess with the straight men, and those men thinking that they're women, especially if some of them probably had the operation done. And then when they find out it's a man, then that man ends up killing them or something like that. And then that's when the whole gay community wants to come out and then come down on that person, but not on the one who tricked them. And they wonder why at one point why their lifestyle was labeled as a mental illness. I think it's going past just them changing some stuff. Their mindset is very warped, like this Richie Rosario. It also reminds me of that time when what's his name? Genuine, when that transgender tried to kiss him on that reality show, and he said no when they came down on him. Like, the shit is ridiculous. It says Mock detailed the experience in an essay, and the Lord Duval purposely misgendered me. Oh yeah, that's when he called her a man. He called her a man. See, and there it goes again, the warped reality. He said misgendered. So, like I tell you, this Janet Mock person was born a male, grew up as a male, and then transitioned into being a quote unquote woman. That's what I call cheating, because that means you bypassed all the stuff that a woman has to go through internally. That means no periods, no pregnancies, no having to visit the gynecologist, and all the other stuff that a woman has to internally go through. And you just, boom, you paid your money, your thousands of dollars to your rich doctor, and they gave you lady parts. Somewhat. And you say they misgendered you? No, he actually identified you as what you were, an XY chromosome individual, also known as a man. But let me continue. They said purposely misgender me, as the host laughed, thereby co-signing in an attempt to put me in my place and erase my womanhood. My goodness. Ladies, y'all should be offended. Y'all should be insulted. Their fragile masculinity would not allow them to recognize a simple truth. I am an accomplished, beautiful, black trans woman. Oh my God. Your willful ignorance will not stop me from being exactly who I am. To most people in the world, you might, or the outside world, some would see you as a freak. Then, of course, there's the whole Kevin Hart debacle with his homophobic tweets from 2011 and his Oscar hosting gig, but I digress. Now, you know what's so funny? It is so many white people out here that have said worse things about gay people and have done worse to gay people and kept gay people out of things. Like, for instance, I just did a video. Donald Trump. He just rescinded on the military, where transgenders are banned from going into the military, mostly because they're not going to allow them to use that money to get their transition done. And this Richie Rosario could have wrote an article about that, but he didn't. Because it's so easy to attack straight black men. It's profit for them. It says, what cisgender straight black men need to acknowledge is that in spite of identifying as queer, we're still black people, and our black bodies are just as susceptible to violence and injustice as theirs are. Hold on. It says, in a 1984 interview, the Village Voice author James Baldwin succinctly explained this. I'm shocked he actually mentioned James Baldwin, but something tells me he would bastardize him the same way white people would bastardize MLK. A black gay person who was a sexual conundrum to society is already long before the question of sexuality comes into it. Menaced and marked because he's black or she's black, Baldwin said. The sexual question comes after the question of color. It's simply one more aspect of the danger in which all black people live. Now, see, this is what I like about James Baldwin. See how he led this? He said a black gay person. He didn't say a gay person who was black. I would expect something like that to come out of, what's his name mouth? Donna. That's who I would expect to say something like that. Is that Donna. He also went on to break down the chasm that exists between white queer people and queer people of color, or really just white people versus people of color, among all demographics when it comes to the benefits of white privilege. I think white gay people feel cheated because they were born in principle into a society in which they were supposed to be safe. The anomaly of their sexuality puts them in danger unexpectedly. Their reaction seems to me in direct proportion to the sense of feeling cheated of the advantages which accrue to white people in a white society. In other words, they deal from white privilege. That same racial dichotomy and breakdown of privilege that Baldwin expressed back then is still prevalent of how people on both sides of the spectrum responded to Smollett's attack. Ellen DeGeneres, a privileged queer white woman, showed her support to Jussie by including that he came out on her show 4 years ago. Now, nowhere did she acknowledge that while being gay, he is also a black man. And that is a tweet from Ellen's show. On the opposite side of that, many in the black community have spoken out on the attack by only highlighting the racial aspect of it and ignoring Jussie's gay identity. Prominent film producer and activist Tariq Nasheed, I think Tariq was how I found out about this, because there he is being mentioned, blatantly refuses to acknowledge the intersectionality that comes, I hate that goddamn word with a passion, that comes with being a gay black man. A gay black man doesn't have the privilege to pick and choose which marginalized identity he wears in society on any given day when he can be attacked for either of them. Like I said in my other video, I don't know how many gay people are being threatened with nooses and to be hung. Because if that's the case, that means white, Asian, Hispanic, anyone else who's besides black who is gay would be the victims of the same type of treatment that Jussie Smollett was allegedly I would say hit with. Instead, he just denounces the white LGBT community for supporting Jussie, but allegedly taking advantage of the situation and using their queerness as a mechanism to manipulate identity politics to their favor. And this is Tariq's tweet right here. You can see it. I'm gonna go ahead and read it. He says the intersectionality crowd is totally silent when white media outlets ignore the racial element of the Jussie Smollett story, yet they vehemently correct and chastise black people who don't mention the homophobic aspect. That speaks volumes. And he's right in the fact of the matter is, in this tweet right here, that person just proved his point. He said a racial and homophobic attack, so on and so forth. And he said, see what I'm saying? They literally just proved his point a minute later. And then they said, do you think they would have attacked a straight black male? I don't. His sexuality and blackness played a role in his assault. This Zelly Imani person is a total idiot. They said, do you think they would have attacked a straight black male? Yes. They were carrying a noose and bleach and called him the N-word. That usually historically goes with black people. And Tariq had to write out what by spelling the letters out one line at a time. With that being said, you can't support the black and brown gay community if you're not going to acknowledge the intersection between their race and their queer identities. See, and this is that thing right here. They keep trying to tell us what we have to do. Always trying to be the boss. Sounds like something a certain gender would likes to do. That's like concealing the issue with a tone-deaf All Lives Matter slogan, which puts a band-aid on the identity you choose not to recognize. I don't care how historically homophobic black culture can be. That will never be a valid excuse for one's silence or ignorance. In Hollywood, music, politics, and sports, there are tons of black men with influence who choose to turn a blind eye or mind their business, and it's not helping anyone. Yet the silence that's more weaponized comes from black men in our own communities. Here comes that blame game again. Usually when something happens to a cisgender black man that can make or take away or has taken away his life, the community is in an uproar. When it comes to queer folks, the protests aren't as loud. Let me just say right here, and I was going to save this for the end. You know what this article is basically saying? That because black men who are straight get the media coverage that they don't, they're jealous that they don't get the same attention. This is all it is. This is pure, unadulterated, raw jealousy. That's all I can really boil it down to. And see, they're upset because because the only reason they feel that Jussie's getting this attention is because he's a star. They feel if he was a regular person, they wouldn't have given him any kind of attention. How would you know that though? But when you really break down what this person is saying, it's jealousy. They're not going to come right out and admit that, but that's what it is. According to Human Rights Campaign, approximately 26 trans women were killed in 2018, most of which were black. Many people find it difficult to see that violence is intersectional and that we must analyze it with nuanced understanding that various oppressive systems create the conditions for a specific instance to occur. Raquel Willis wrote for Out. This is why we often see initiatives that focus on alleviating threats of violence for one specific marginalized identity group at a time: white cisgender women, white LGBTQ people, black cishet men, and on and on. It says, here's a message to all black men. Now they're addressing us all, not some, not most, but all of us. We need your influence and your voice. You can't be just vocal when rapping about the inequalities of the straight black man from the hood in America. You can't be just vocal about supporting Colin Kaepernick on his kneeling stance. You can't just march in a Black Lives Matter rally and not acknowledge your queer brothers and sisters marching right beside you, because our lives matter just like yours do. Ugh, God. Let me pause this right quick, and I'm going to show you something. Okay, I want y'all to look at this right here. This says, and this is from Vibe magazine, Kenan Thompson extends well wishes to fellow Mighty Duck Jussie Smollett 16 hours ago. Now, they said that straight black men aren't acknowledging that, he was attacked and whatnot. Here's one right here. May not be a big fan of Kenan Thompson, but here's one. And look at what it says, 16 hours ago. That's way different that's way before that hit piece was written. Okay? So they literally contradicted themselves. Let me show you something else. This article right here was written about Kevin Hart, saying, how he supported Jussie as well. Now, this was after that hit piece was written. But see, the difference here is when Kevin Hart spoke up in support of, Jussie after he got attacked by the same people that says straight black men need to speak up more. Ain't that some shit? Now I'm going to pause it one more time and bring you something that I would say drives all of this home. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the writer of that hit piece, Richie Rosario. This is the so-called Dominican gay man that is scared to go into a barbershop with black and brown people out of fear he's going to be attacked, and ran out of town and ran out of wherever because of his sexuality. Now, I got a question for y'all. If y'all was to go to wherever this Richie Rosario lived, y'all didn't know who he was before seeing his image. He never opened his mouth to speak, so you didn't know if he had an accent or he spoke with a different language. You would swear up and down that this guy was black. And to be quite honest, in this establishment, if he was to get pulled over by the police, they were racist, they would see him as a nigger. They wouldn't call him a queer or a fag or whatever. They would call him a nigger first. But see, that's the thing I keep telling people. Individuals like him and the ones I talked about in that Bayard Rustin video, they lead with their lifestyle first before their race. So, and based on him saying that he's Dominican, that already lets me know all I need to know. I wouldn't be surprised if he is a Kamala Harris supporter. They kind of line right up neck and neck. But that's really all I needed to talk about when it comes to this right here. I'm mad the video went as long as it did, but I had to pick apart that stupid article from Vibe, a place that literally is on its last leg of decaying. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. One last thing I wanted to add, and I'm glad I managed to think this up while I was getting ready to finish the video. Isn't it amazing how black men, well, straight black men seem to be, well, not even seem to be, we are the most hated people on this planet for almost anything, and it's usually never our fault, but we're always the ones that's made to be held accountable, not only for our shit, but other people's shit. We always have to have our feet held to the fire for no matter what, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But when it comes time to speak out on things, we are the ones that always have to speak out. Then that's when they want us to lead. It's almost like they're treating us as if we are their puppet and they're the puppet master. Well, if that's the case, I have my scissors in hand and I have officially cut the strings, because I am nobody's puppet. And see how in that article he was stating like what we should do. That's the thinking of a puppet master right there. But that's really all I have to say.